going to show you how to make this fancy tassel necklace. It's just components that we make with tubular netting, and we'll make tassels and we'll put some little charms on. We'll use chain and a component, and with this component you can always use half of a toggle clasp and just cut the loop off. If you don't have a component, you can always create one, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. Just find one of your toggles and use your wire cutters and cut off the loop on it, and you can use that if that's what you want to do, if you want to make it like I do, or you can just make the tassels. This is very hard to fit into the camera here, so I'm just going to show you the whole thing. It's a nice long necklace. It is about 27 inches long. So it hangs down, the tassels hang down to the middle of your chest, and it's really very pretty on. It hangs very nicely. So we will be making components of netting here, as you can see them. I'll zoom in so you can see what everything looks like. This is what the tassels look like here. And it's chain on the end. So you can do this any way you want. You can string something and put the tassels on it. You can make your components and string them differently. You can do this a million different ways. You don't have to do it as I've done it. So if you don't have all the things that I have for this, because it takes a lot of ingredients for this one, don't worry about it too much. You can alter it and modify it to the point to where you can still do this necklace, just do it your own way with what you have. So anyway, that's what we're going to be making today, and let's go ahead and look at the list of materials for this project. Okay, for this project, you need a bunch of stuff if you're going to do it the way I'm going to do it. Otherwise, if you just want to make the tassel part and put it on ear wires or something else, just a chain, then you won't need this much stuff. But if you're going to make the entire project, then you're going to need quite a few things. So what we're going to do is we're going to use 8 bead caps. So I have just these little tall bead caps, and you can use any type of bead cap as long as they're not gigantic ones. You can use any normal size bead cap that'll fit like a 6mm bead. And then you'll need a toggle clasp. You don't have to, but if you would like some little charms, I have these little key charms that I bought at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or somewhere like that. And I'm going to add a couple just to make my piece a little bit more interesting. And there's also jump rings on here, so I'm going to use the jump rings, so you will need some jump rings, maybe a couple little charms. I have this large connector I'm going to be using. You can bypass that and just connect to chain if you'd like, or use a large jump ring, that's fine. I just have this real large round closed ring that I'm going to use for a connector. You will need 15-0 and 11-0 seed beads. These are both Toho, and they are the nickel plate silver tone. Yeah, nickel plate silver, 15 O's and 11 O's, and they're Tohos. And then you'll need some chain. I'm going to use this large link Rolo type chain for mine. It's got a little patina on it. It's a little antiqued colored. Then you're going to need some bicone crystals, and I am using sapphire Swarovski 4mm bicones. I will also be using some 4mm round metal beads. Now these are just like a 6-0 seed bead, so if you do not have any of these 4mm round kind of white hole type of metal beads, you can find 6-0s in a metallic if you'd like to make it metallic like I'm doing, or you can use just a pretty color that matches your crystals or complements your crystals well in a 6-0 seed bead. I'm also going to be using 4 closed jump rings. This is a 6mm in diameter jump ring, and it is kind of just a little textured silver tone jump ring. You will also need, or I am also using, and I'm saying I am using because you can switch out anything. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing. I am using an 8mm round metal bead, kind of a textured pretty little metal bead. I'll show you what it looks like. And I will be using 8 of those. And then you will need some thread, so you'll need nanofil 8 or 10 pound or 6 or 8 pound fireline. Then you will need some stringing wire. I'm using Soft Flex medium. You can use anything that's comparable. You will also need some crimp tubes. I'm using a size 2 Beadalon, and these are kind of a hematite metallic color. And then you'll need some glue. I'm using gel, crazy glue. You can use anything that's gel. You want really good control, and you only need a tiny bit of it just to help hold the bead caps in place. Then some crimping tools. I'm using just the regular size crimping tool. You will need a flat nose and long nose, or chain nose, excuse me. Flat nose and chain nose, or 2 chain nose or 2 flat nose, it doesn't matter, just 2 pliers to open and shut your jump rings with, and some wire cutters. You will also need a size 10 or 12 beading needle. 10 would be better, and perhaps a lighter would be helpful, very helpful actually. And I am designing this as I'm going, so if I think of something else, then I will throw that into the mix. If you want to make earrings out of your tassels, then 2 ear wires. So let's go ahead and get started. Put about a yard of thread onto your needle. I'm using my nanofil, and then we'll start by making the tassel like this one. We'll start that. You will be making 2 of them, but I'm going to show you, of course, how to make just one. So pick up a 4mm bicone crystal and 11/0, a 4mm bicone crystal and 11/0, 4mm bicone crystal and an 11/0, and that's good. So you'll need 3 bicone crystals and 3 11/0 seed beads. Start with bicone, end with an 11/0. We are going to do tubular netting to make the main portion of our tassel. So if you know how to do that, then you can just go ahead and do this first and then tune me in later. So we're coming out here. We're going to go into the first bead we put on and the 11/0. And we're just going to hold that, pull the thread through, and pull these beads into a circle. Grab your tail and your working thread and pull them into a circle like so. You don't have to leave a long tail, just a few inches so that it doesn't slip off. And then just go ahead and sew through all of these beads to secure them. I have to apologize for my hands. I've been working with glue and stuff, and they're just messy. But I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to sew all the way through, and I'm going to pull it tight like so. Now, with tubular netting, you're going to make a layer of beads and then a layer of netting and then a layer of beads. So we've got our layer of crystals here, and we're going to go up through this 11/0 seed bead right here. Make sure everything's secure, and pick up 3 15/0 seed beads, then an 11/0, then 3 15/0 seed beads. Skip over the crystal and go into the next 11/0 seed bead, and just the 11/0, and pull this down around the crystal. And then do the same thing again, 3 11/0 seed beads, or excuse me, 15/0 seed beads, then an 11/0, then 3 15/0s, go into, like so, then go into the next 11/0 and pull them down. Tuck your tail aside and do it again. Pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, an 11-0, and 3 15-0 seed beads. Go into the next 11-0 and the crystal behind it. This is just to secure this first round here. So go through this crystal as well as the 11-0, pull through, and then go through the 11-0 here and the 15-0 seed beads here. So we came through this crystal, we're now going through this 11-0, all of the 15-0s, pull your thread through, and then hop into the 11-0 at the very peak of this netting you've just created. So go into this 11-0. Now we're going to nestle crystals in this netting we've created. So this netting will pull up. And what we're going to do is just connect from 11-0 in the peaks to 11-0 in the peak. Do not use the 11-0s down between the original layer of crystals. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up a 4mm bicone crystal. You're going to skip over all of these beads and go into the 11-0 in the center of the next crystal and pull. This is going to bring your netting up. The first layer is sloppy and kind of hard to control, so just do the best you can, like so, and then pick up the next bicone crystal, and you're coming out of this 11-0 here. We're going to go into the next peak, going over the next crystal, and pick up that 11-0 right here. And we're going to pull this crystal down and at the same time pull the netting from our original layer up. Now pick up another crystal, and you're going to go from this 11-0 to the one you started in, and you're going to go through the crystal behind it. So let me grab this and go through this crystal. Pull these all up. Going through the crystal takes the stress off the seed beads and also helps secure the piece, make it stronger. Now we're going to go through, we're coming through the crystal, we're going to go through this 11-0 between these two crystals, and we will make our netting. We'll always go from 11-0 to 11-0 when we make the netting. Get my tail out of there. Sorry for that knot there. This is what I have. Now I'm coming out of this 11-0 right here. I'm going to make another set of netting. The netting will go over the crystals and into the 11-0 seed beads. So we'll pick up 3 15-0 seed beads and 11-0 and 3 15-0s. Hop over to the next 11-0 seed bead between the crystals and pull. Bring this down around the crystals, and like I said, the first couple layers are just kind of hard to handle. They just want to squish up, so just keep securing your piece by pulling your tail and your working thread and arrange it so that you can see what you're doing. Now I'm coming out of this crystal. I have one netting. I need to make 2 more. So I'm going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads and an 11-0 and 3 15-0s onto my needle, like so. Then I'm going to go from this 11-0 to the 11-0 between the next 2 crystals here. And pull. Give it a little tug, tighten it up, and then one more, pick up 3 15-0s, an 11-0, and 3 15-0s, like so. And then you're going to go over this crystal into this 11-0 and the crystal behind it. So I'm going into this 11-0. I'm also going to slide into the crystal and exit that crystal, just to make my piece a lot stronger. Now I need to go into the 11-0. So I'm coming out of the crystal here. I need to be in this 11-0, And then I have to get up to the top of the peaks of the netting here. So I'm going to go through this 11-0 and the next 3 15-0s and the 11-0 in the peak. And I'm going to pull this together like this. Now I'm coming out of the top 11-0 and I'm ready to nestle my crystals in between the netting. So I'm going to pick up a crystal and I'm going to go into the next 11-0 on the peak of the next netting and pull my crystal down between those 11-0s like so. Then I'm going to do the same thing again. Pick up a crystal, go from this 11-0 to this 11-0 in the peak of the netting right here and pull. And for just a moment, let's zoom in a little closer just so that you can see exactly what's happening here. I've got this 11-0 here. I have to put a crystal in between these two 11-0s. I'm coming out of an 11-0. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, go into this 11-0 and the crystal behind it. When you put your last crystal in, you always want to go through the crystal behind the 11-0 just to secure your piece. And then pull tight. And then go through the 11-0 seed bead behind that crystal you just traveled through. Now you can just go into the 11-0, but and then make your next layer. But I find that the piece isn't as neat and it isn't as strong when you do that. It tends to pull the seed beads kind of funny. So I like to secure it as many times as I can as I'm going around. Now we're going to do another layer of netting. We're going to do these layers of netting and the crystals until you have 5 layers. So we're going to count it this way: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've done 3 layers. Let's do 5. And when you look at it from the side, like this one, it'll look like 3. 1, 2, 3. But you're actually offsetting them, so it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make your 5 sets, and we'll be back. Okay, so as you can see, I've made 4 layers of crystals. I've put on my netting, and now I'm going to put my 5th layer of crystals in, and this is the last layer of this particular part of the tassel we'll be making. So I'm coming out of the 11-0 seed bead here, and I'm going to begin to put my 3 crystals in. So I'm going to go over to the next 11-0, pull my crystal down, and just work my way around. Go into the next 11-0 and pull my crystal down. And one more. Go into the 11-0, the crystal behind it, and pull your crystal down, like so. Now we have to secure this because this is our completed part that we're going to use for the main body of the tassel here. So we're going to go through this 11-0 here and the crystal and the 11-0 behind it, and we're just going to sew around this entire layer. The 11-0, the crystal, the 11-0, and then again. Pull it tightly. Right here, I'm coming out of this 11-0 seed bead right here. You can see this thread here. Tighten, make sure that you don't have any slack in your last layer, and let's tie a little knot right here. So just go underneath that thread bridge and tie a little overhand knot. Pull it down like so. And then just set that aside for now. Now I'm going to put my needle on the other side and I'm going to tie a knot with my tail. You can do it when you start, but I didn't want to block my beads, so Hopefully I have enough tail here. So I'm just going to put my needle on. You know, when you're on camera, you can't do anything right. There we go. So I'm going to do that, and my thread is pretty short, but I'm going to try to go through this 11/0 seed bead here, and then I'm just going to take the needle off because it's so short, and I'm just going to go underneath this thread bridge with my thread. So if your tail is longer, then you can do this easier. Then I'm going to go through here, or just start with a knot when you start your project, but I didn't, so I'm going to pull this knot down between these beads here and tighten it. And then I'm going to see if I can just poke this through this crystal here and pull it out. There. So now I'm going to cut this off. Hopefully I was in frame the whole time. And then I'm going to grab my lighter and I'm just going to melt this down, and I'm going to melt it towards the outside of my piece so it doesn't block that crystal. Not that it matters, I'm not really going to use that crystal anymore, so going through it anyway. Now, on the tail side that we just cut the tail off of, we are going to put a bead cap, and we're going to glue it on. Now that's not what's going to hold it. Sewing through it is going to hold it together, but this is going to hold it in place and make sure that we have it in a nice place. Otherwise, when you try to sew through this, it just moves everywhere. So what you're going to do is get some gel super glue with a pretty small tip, and just lightly, or you can use jewelry glue or hypo cement, whatever you want, and just very lightly put some glue on the edges of your bead cap. Set your glue aside, and then nicely arrange your bead cap onto the top and just hold it there. Make sure it's not crooked or anything, and don't glue your fingers together like I just did. And just hold it till you get a little bit of a stick. Starting to. And then we'll set it aside for a couple of minutes and just let that set. So I've got it on there. I'm just going to set it aside. Okay, so it's been a couple of minutes and that little bead cap is in place. Now this is not strong. Don't pull on it. It's not meant to hold the bead cap and be a permanent fixture there. It's just meant to keep it in place while we sew. So now we're in the bottom here, and I've tied a little knot between the beads. I'm going to go through a crystal here, and I'm going to then go through an 11/0, and then I'm going to go through the center of my piece here, all the way through all the crystals. Be careful because you can come out the side of these. Just try to go through all the way and fish your way around until you come through the top. Let me back off. Until you come through the top of the bead cap. And then just pull your thread through. Don't pull it tight to where it crinkles up your little piece, but just enough to where it's nice and neat and pulled through, and it's not wrapped around any crystals or anything, just coming through that side. And we're going to do the same thing we just did with the glue. We're going to get another bead cap. Now if you'd like to, I found that it's a little bit easier to put it on the crystals. I just hate to get my crystals all funny, so just put a tiny bit of glue on the tip of the bicones here. Maybe a tiny bit on the 11/0s, just a tiny bit. And then hold your bead cap in place. Again, make sure it's nice and neat. And just hold it until it stays. It takes it a couple minutes or a few seconds, probably about 30-40 seconds. If you don't glue your fingers to it like I did. Let's see. Now it's starting to stick, so I'll just hold on to it for a little bit longer, and then I'll be back when it's ready to go. Okay, so now it's dry and I can continue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a closed jump ring, which I didn't put in the material list, sorry guys, but you'll need some jump rings. Whether they're closed or not doesn't really truly matter. You just make sure that you keep the open part of your jump ring, if it's open, towards the top so that your threads don't go through as you sew, and also make sure it's closed very tightly. Now grab a hold of put your needle through anyway, the jump ring, and then go back through the entire piece. Now you're going to have to fish around, make sure your needle goes straight through, and then find the opening in your bead cap and pull through. And pull it all the way through, like so. And now we'll start to make some tassels. So we're going to pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, and then we'll pick up 5 of our bicone crystals and a 15-0 seed bead. And we'll drop this all down. So I've got 3 15-0s, 5 crystals, and a 15-0. And I'm going to drop this down, and then I'm going to go around the 15-0 seed bead, through all of the crystals, through the 3 15-0s on top, back through my piece. Now, like I said, you have to fish around a little bit. Make sure you go straight through and find the opening. And it takes a little bit of work. Sometimes it's easier than other times. There. So there's my needle, and I'm just going to pull it through. Okay, and then I'm going to go around the jump ring again and back through the piece again. Push my 15-0 seed beads to the side on the bottom here and come back through. Like this. Just do it slow and gently. We're only going to make 4 of these, so you can get through 4. I have a tiny little knot in my thread. That's one of my issues. And then pick up 3 15-0 seed beads, 5 bicone crystals. Oh, come here. I tell you, things are not working out so well today. 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 15-0 seed bead, and push them all down to the piece. I'm trying to adjust my thread. There we go. Then we're going to go back around the 15-0 into the 5 crystals, back into the 3 15-0s on top of the crystals, and then into the piece again. And it helps if your needle is not bent, but mine is, so I've been doing a lot of work with it this morning and messed it up. Come through the top, pull it through. Make sure your tassel's nice and neat and there's no slack. go around the jump ring again, or through it, whatever you want to call it. Come through the piece and pull your thread back through. And again, you're going to make 2 more of these tassels, and then when we have finished those 2, we'll be back. Okay, so I have made my 4 tassels, like so, and now we're going to tie this up. And because it's so difficult to pass in and out of this to go through another one, what we're going to do is we're just going to go underneath the threads here. So I'm coming out of the top after making my last tassel. I'm going to slide my needle under all of the threads. And then I'm going to pull it through, and let's do that again. My thread wasn't proper. So let's go back underneath all of these threads here, like so. Pull it through, make a loop, go through the loop, and tie a knot. Pull it down. Go to the other side, push the jump ring down, bring your thread around, go underneath the threads on this side. Make sure I'm in camera there. Go underneath all the threads, make another loop, tie a knot, pull it very tightly down between the jump ring and the bead cap, and then go through the bead cap one more time. We're going to go all the way through the piece, and we're going to come out the bottom. See if I can find a place where there isn't any 15 O's here. There we go. And just pull it through. And then I'm going to cut this off. Pull it over to where it's to the side here. Cut it off. And then I'm going to melt it down so that that keeps it from sliding back through, like so. And just melt it, don't light it on fire. And I hope you could see all that, but I just pulled the thread through, pulled it to the side, cut it off, and melted it down. Now I have 2 tassels. I'm going to put another little charm on this one, and I might find something else different than a key. Well, maybe I'll just do another key. And at this point, this you could put an ear wire on and make them into earrings. You can use it as just a single pendant, whatever you would like. I'm going to continue with the entire look that I'm trying to achieve, but at this point, you can call it done if all you wanted was the tassel portion. So I'm just going to open one of these jump rings on this chain of charms here, and I'm going to attach it to my jump ring, like so. Grab my other pliers and close my jump ring. And now I have another tassel. And like I said, you can do anything you want. You don't have to put a charm on it. You can do all kinds of stuff. The tassel portion is done. And we will return in a moment and continue. After you have made 2 of these little tassels, and I went ahead and put little charms on them too, go ahead and set them aside. I may change my charms where I place them later, but at this point, I'm just going to put them there. And then we are going to make a couple more segments of the tubular netting. So you'll need your 15 O's, 11 O's, and now I am going to add into the mix some 4mm round metal beads. Now these are just like a 6/0 seed bead, so if you have a metallic 6/0 or something pretty you want to use as a 6/0 instead of a metallic 4mm round, or perhaps you want to use a 4mm round pearl, whatever you want to use, you can use too. I'm going to alternate my layers of netting with crystals and the 4mm rounds, simply because that's going to save me on some crystals and it's going to give me a little bit different look. So to do this, you're going to start it the same way you started your other segments. Start with a bicone, an 11/0, a bicone, excuse me, well, a bicone, come here, and an 11-0, a bicone, that's around. I love when my crystals get mixed up, and an 11-0. So what you're going to have on your needle is the same as we started before, 3 bicones, 3 11-0s, start with a bicone, end with an 11-0, and then again pull this to the end of your thread. And you don't have to leave a long tail again, just enough to hold on to. Go ahead and slide back up through the first bead you put on your tail side. And I got the 11-0 too, which is fine, because I'm going to sew around all of them. And we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. So sew around all of these. When you get to where your tail is, we'll tie a small knot just so that we can secure our base unit and keep it from sliding around on the thread here. So I'm all the way back around. I'm going to tie a little knot and make sure it goes down between the 11-0 and the crystal. Let me adjust my thread. It's really long and it needs to be adjusted. There we go. And so here I am, and I'm between the beads. I've tied a little knot. Let's do that again just because it didn't really take. Pull it tight and then go into the 11-0 seed bead, because I'm right in between the beads there, so I'm going to go into an 11-0, and then I'm going to start my netting again. I'm going to pick up 3 of my 15-0 seed beads, then I'm going to pick up an 11-0 and 3 15-0s, and I'm going to slide over to the next 11-0 and pull that through. And since we've already gone through this, I'll only go through this enough to show you the change of beads, and then we will go to length. So another 3 15-0s, an 11-0, and 3 15-0s. Let's get a little bit closer. And then go into the next 11-0. So just skip over the crystal and pull these down. And then again, pick up 3 15-0s, an 11-0, and 3 15-0s, and go into the next 11-0 and the crystal behind it, like so, and pull. And then go into the 11-0 seed bead, the 3 15-0s behind it, right here, and pull. Go up into the 11-0 on the peak of the crystal here, and pull your thread through. Now, we've done a layer of our crystals and then the netting. Now we're going to connect the netting with the 6-0 seed beads, or like mine are 4mm round metal. However, they are just like a 6-0. So I'm going to skip over this, or actually I'm coming out of this 11-0. I'm going to skip over to the next 11-0 in the next peak on top of the crystal and go into it. So it's the same exact thing we've been doing, except for now we're just going to use different beads to alternate with our crystals. So instead of making a layer of crystals, this time I'll make a layer of 4mm rounds. Now I'm going to pick up another of my beads, go into the next 11-0 on the next peak of the next crystal, right here, and pull, and then I will go into the next 11-0 and the next 4mm round right here. When I end a round, I like to go through the big bead as well as the 11-0, just because it secures everything. Go into the 11-0 again here and pull these beads tightly. Now we will do the same thing we did before. We will pick up 3 15 O's, an 11 O, and 3 15 O's, and go into the next 11 O. Now on this layer, things want to loosen, so you just have to keep tightening them. These beads have a little bit bigger hole than the last beads, so they have a tendency to slip a little more. So you just have to keep tightening it and rearranging it in your hand to keep it nice and neat. Once you get about 3-4 rows done, then it's no big deal anymore. So I have again picked up 3 15 O's, an 11 O, and 3 15 O's, and I'm skipping over this bead. I'm going into the 11 O. And then I'll just push that net up a little bit and go over to my next bead, pick up 3 15 O's, an 11 O, and 3 15 O's. This will just create a little bit different interest and it will help save on crystals. So I'm going to go into the next 11 O and the 4mm round behind it. Pull this down, push it up, and then I'm going to go into this little 11 O between the beads here, and just the 11 O. Well, I guess you could slide up into the 15 O's. We're going to do that next, but I've caught my tail, so let me get that out of there. Now we're going to go up into the 15 O's here and the 11 O on the peak here, right here. Back off just a little. And then again, I am going to go into each 11 O with a crystal. So we'll pick up a crystal. Since my last layer was my metal beads, I'm now going to go in with my crystals. And then again, pick up a crystal and go into the next 11 O on the next peak. Oops, got my lamp. Geez, I'm getting a little crazy over here. Now I'm going to pick up another crystal, go into the 11 O and the crystal behind it. I'm going to pull this tightly and I'll show you what I have. I'm going to go ahead and go into this 11 O here so I don't forget, because you always want to work from those 11 O's. And this is what my segment is starting to look like. Now I'll put in my netting and another layer of metal beads and then my crystal beads. And we will do that until we have 17 rows of tubular netting. The way you're going to count this is you will count a crystal, then your next color or your next type of bead, and then a crystal. So like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So that is how I've counted mine, and I have 17 rows. And now I am going to tie off this end here. So I have sewn around this top layer the crystals and the 11 O's more than once. I'm just going to show you what I did. Just go around it. And once you've gone around it once or twice, pulling it together nice and tightly, and you've got it nice and reinforced, I've already done it a couple times, then you'll go underneath the thread bridge right here between the 11 O and the crystal, and you'll tie an overhand knot, go through the crystal, go through an 11 O, and do that again. So go underneath the thread bridge and tie a knot. Pull it down between the beads, And do that one more time. Go through the crystal and an 11-0 and tie one more knot. Like so. Then we can go through the crystal in the next 11-0, then we will cut this thread off. So we'll cut this, and then I will get my lighter and I will burn this thread down like so. So now on this other end, we will just, this one's tied off, so we will just cut this short and burn it down like so. And now we have a segment of tubular netting. So once you have tied your ends off, then cut about a 10-inch piece of your soft flex beading wire, or whatever beading wire you happen to be using. And what you're going to do is you're going to slide the soft flex through the netting. Now it's going to want to slide between the beads as you do this. So just go as far as you can, pull it through a little bit, and then go the rest of the way. Just kind of threading it through. As it comes through other beads, you can just pull on both ends and straighten it up, because you're not going to get it in one shot. It doesn't happen. So just keep threading it through until we can get all the way to the end here. And make sure when you get to the end, you come up through the middle of the 3 crystals in the end, like so. Okay? And then you're going to grab one of your bead caps. And again, we're just going to tack these on here with a little bit of glue. So just put a tiny bit of glue on the edge here. Slide your wire through, try not to get any glue on it. And bring it down to the beads and hold it into place. As you do that, just kind of move your wire to make sure that it's not getting stuck, because we don't want it stuck. Make sure you have about the same amount of wire on either end, just in case it does, so that you can still make the rest of your piece. Now I've tacked that just lightly. I'm going to let it dry, and then I will slide the other one on exactly the same way on this side and glue it. After we have done that, we'll be back. Once that has tacked, and you can see my wire is still sliding through, and it's just tacked a little bit. That's not, the glue is not going to hold everything together. The beads that we put on here are going to hold everything together. It's just, it's nice to keep it in one spot, and that'll also help retain the shape that we want. So now we're going to use a connector to connect this to, and a couple of 6mm round metal beads. I have these little fancy beads that I'm going to use, and perhaps a crystal or two. And this connector that I have, I just bought online. I got a package of them, and this is about an inch in diameter. As you can see, I mean, from side to side, this is about an inch big. You can use a different size, a smaller one if you'd like. I have some smaller ones too, like this package that I could use. And this is probably a 1/2 inch. Let me see. There are several different types of connectors you can get. They're just round, closed jump rings, basically. They're just really big. They're called connectors. This one is, yep, it's a 1/2 inch. So you can buy them all different sizes. However, if you do not have one handy, you can always take a toggle clasp and you can cut the loop off with your wire cutters, and you can use an end of a toggle clasp too. There's all different shapes and sizes of toggle clasps, and normally it's pretty easy to cut these loops off as long as you don't get one that's really thick. But you should be able to use a connector or use one end of a toggle for your connector too. You could even just connect the wire to it, and then you could leave the loop on and connect your tassels to it. So there are other ways, other alternatives. If you don't have a connector, you can make one from a toggle. I change pieces and components all the time to suit what I want. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to string on one end of this component. I'm going to put on a bead, and then I'm going to put on a crystal, and then a bead, and then I am going to grab a closed jump ring. One end I am going to connect a closed jump ring, the other end I'm going to connect to my connector. So what I'm going to do is pick up a crimp bead. Found one. So I'm going to slide this little crimp bead onto my wire, and I'm going to grab a jump ring. And on this jump ring, I am going to loop around and go through the crimp bead here. So let's get a little closer. I'm going to go through my crimp bead, and then I'm going to go through my metal bead also. My metal beads are probably 8mm round, 6 or 8. I think they're 8 actually. And then we will pull this down. Control the size of your loop. You don't want it to be tiny, but you don't want it to be huge either. You want it to just move around on your jump ring nicely. So that's about the right size there for me. Then I'm going to grab my crimp pliers, or my crimping tool, I guess is what I should call it. And I am going to go into the divot closest to the handle, and I'm going to squeeze. Then I am going to turn this to the side and go into the divot closest to the tip of the plier or the tools here. So you can see I'm in the second divot here, and I'm going to squeeze. And squeeze this crimp bead together. Like so. And it is crimped now. Then I am going to cut this wire off with my wire crimps right at the top of this bead here. Then I'm going to squish this down. Now this has a lot of play, so you could leave it stretched out, but it's going to fall together anyway when we have it vertical. So I'm just going to squish it together, take all the play out of it, and I am going to then put on a metal bead. Then I'm going to put on a crystal bead. Now make sure when you're doing this that you allow yourself enough room on both sides to have plenty of wire to wrap through your crimp bead. So before you do one side or the other, make sure that you've checked to make sure you have enough to do the other side. So I have strung everything together. I have squished my netting together. Let me back off just a little bit here. And then I'm going to put my crimp bead on. I could have reserved more wire for me to do this end, but I didn't. So now it's going to be a little tougher for me to go back through my crimp bead. So I'm going to bend this over. I'm going to go through the crimp bead and connect this to my connector. Go back through the crimp bead, go back through the metal bead, and then I have to make sure that this loop can move around on the connector. I don't want it to move tons, but I want it to move a little bit freely. So I'm going to make my loop about yay big. Let me let you see. Now I am going to make sure that there's no slack in my wire as far as here, and then I'm going to crimp this off. So go into the divot closest to the handle, move forward. After you've crimped that, you can see I've encased both wires separately, side by side here, parallel to each other. Then I go, turn them sideways, go into the top divot and crimp. And now I have crimped that together. It's secure. And I will take my wire cutters right at the top of this bead. I'm going to cut this off. And then back off so you can see what I have. Now, I am going to make another one exactly like this. So I'll make 12 more units. I will put my wire through it. I will put a jump ring on one end, and I'll connect the other end to this connector here. So we have this end here. And before I do that, I'm just going to go ahead and do this dangle part too. So you can get your little tassels out, and we'll just make this side, and then we'll make the other side and connect some wire to the back, and we'll be done. So, or not wire, but chain. So what I'm going to do is I have a little piece of this Rollo chain here, and I want to make one dangle longer than the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half, figure out how big I want. So you can just figure out, I want one dangle to be longer than the other. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 links long. Or actually, I think I'll go to the 11th link here. And I will just grab my straight nose pliers. I will find the opening in my chain in the link here. Grab the straight nose, and I will open this by turning it from side to side, like so. And I will pull one of these off. I will put this open link onto my jump ring here on my tassel, and I will close this link. And then I will open this link on this end, so hold on to it, and then I'm just going to go up and down like this. Never pull your rings out. Just turn them, twist them, basically. And then I'm going to put this on the connector. This is a very thick connector, so hopefully my link will fit. If not, I will have to do a jump ring, but let me see if I can get it on here. That's why I chose this wide chain, because I thought it would fit on here, and it does. So there, and then I'll twist it again. Whoop. Oops. It's being a little tricky here. There we go. It's got to get a good grip. And so that is one length, and then I'll grab the other length. Where did you go? Here it is. And here's my other length, and I'm going to, let's see, I think I'm going to shorten this one a little bit. I want one to be shorter than the other. So I think I will take a few links off this and make this one 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 links. This one's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, that's what I thought, but 1, 2. So I want it to be shorter than that. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I'll go 7 links. See how that works. And I'm going to open this, take some of these off, and then I will connect to the jump ring on this one. And of course, if I decide that this was too long, I can always change the length of my links too. Let's see, do I want it? I think I want this one even shorter. I'm going to take off a couple more. Just so that my tassels don't lay on top of each other. I want them to lay next to each other. Chain against tassel, not tassel against tassel. So now I'm going to put this one on here. See what happens here. Got to open this more. And slide onto my connector. Need to open it some more even. Okay, fine. There. Now I will try to get a good grip and close this without slip sliding away. There we go. And what I'm probably going to go ahead and do is I'm going to move these keys up. I'm going to take it off of my jump ring on my tassel, and I'm going to move it up to one of these links up here, and then I'll do the same on this one and just have them up a little higher so that they are a little bit more visible. So here's my opening. I'm going to open this, and I think I'm going to put this one about here and close it. See how that looks? It's alright, I guess. And then I will put this one up a little higher too. And of course you could put several things on there if you wanted. However you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. Charms are just that. You can put them almost anywhere. Like so. So and this is the bottom of my necklace. Let me back off so you can see. This will be the tassel portion of my necklace. Then I will make another half over here and another half over here, put chain in the back, put my toggle clasp on. So I'm going to go ahead and make this half, and when I'm ready to connect it, I will be back. So as you can see now, I've finished the other side and connected it exactly the way I did the first side. So let's push this down and get a little closer so you can see what this looks like. So these are the same, and I even tried to make my loops the same size just so everything would be symmetrical. And I connected everything exactly the same way. So just do one side exactly like the first, or the second side exactly like the first side, and then I have cut myself 2 pieces of chain that are 24 links long, and I am going to connect them to my jump rings, and then I will connect my toggle to them. I may need to get some jump rings to connect my toggle because my toggle has smaller holes, or has smaller loops than I think my loops on my chain are going to be. So I may either have to change my toggle or connect with jump rings. But at this point, I know I'm going to put this chain on, so I'm just going to go ahead and open each piece and put it on either side of these jump rings and get that prepared. So again, twist from side to side like so, and open, and just slide onto your jump ring, and then close by twisting back, and then we'll do the other side. Let me back up just a little so you can actually see what I'm doing. And then I'm going to grab a link on this piece of chain, and I am going to open it, and just for grins I'm going to see if this will fit through. Oh yeah, that's going to fit. So now I'm going to connect here, and I think I will go ahead and try connecting my toggle directly to my chain since it seems to fit. But if I don't get the motion I like, if I need to have the link turned the other direction, then I will add a jump ring anyway. But so I've added both pieces of chain. Now I'm going to open the chain on this side. If I can find where it opens, there it is. And twist it open again, like so. Put on my clasp. And this is where you want double-sided clasps too, because it's going to turn and twist. So you want both sides to be pretty. And then I'm going to put on the other side. And this will be a long necklace so that it'll hang, the tassels will hang down lower. Be pretty with a sweater or something. And let me get this all in camera here. If I can back off enough. My camera doesn't back out very well, so let's see what I can do here to, not very good, huh? Alright, so let me turn this. And see if I can get it all in camera. And let's see. There. It's hard to get in the camera. Okay. So hopefully I can arrange it prettier and take a picture of it so that you can actually see what it looks like. But that's what that looks like. And I'm going to just zoom in on the bottom part here so you can see it a little better. And that's what that looks like. Well, it just really doesn't want to fit in. But there we go. And that's what that part looks like. And this, like I said, will hang down lower. I will measure it and let you know exactly how long it is. So this portion of the necklace from here, the loop here, to the toggles is 20 inches, and this portion from here to here is 7 inches. So it's a 27-inch necklace. It'll hang down to the middle of your chest. It's really pretty where the tassels hang, and it would look really pretty on any kind of sweater or something like that. A plain black dress, it would look really pretty hanging on. You can always make it shorter or longer depending upon how many links you put in the back here. Or here also, you can shorten these also and have your tassels hang a little bit shorter if you would like. Or, of course, you can make it longer. You can make this 36-inch necklace if you'd like. It just depends on your own taste and what you want it to look like. Let's turn this back here so it's the proper way. And that's what that looks like. Hope you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.